why bed is very important to you?
Well, you know, I'm with a young, drop-dead gorgeous Filipino. What do you think the reason is? Chrissy, it's a 2023 recap. 9 cities in the Philippines, 11 different properties, 10 Airbnbs and 1 hotel. What a trip. It was the honeymoon before the marriage.
Yes, I agree. And it's so nice to experience different places and different Airbnbs.
Today, we're going to take you on our journey and we're going to show you why we rented these particular properties, what prices we paid for these properties, what we liked about them, what we didn't like about them. We'll show you the properties, we'll show you the Airbnbs, we'll show you which cities we went to, what we liked about those cities. Join us as we take a tour, the 2023 recap, 9 cities and 11 properties, the honeymoon before the marriage.
So now we're gonna talk about each Airbnb that we stayed.
Right, but first I think we just want to cover how you pick an Airbnb, because there's a little bit more art than science in how to pick an Airbnb, and there's a couple of rules. Now, I used to own a real estate brokerage and I've traveled to 60 plus countries internationally. So here are my rules about how you pick an Airbnb. Try not to violate these rules and you'll be pretty happy. It's a star system, 1 to 5. You know, normally you see 4.7 stars, you go, that's a darn good review. That's a good, no, 4.85 or higher. We're looking for 4.85 or higher, 15 or more reviews. That's sort of the sweet spot. People don't often offer negative advice. Their mothers taught them, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And having owned a real estate brokerage, I can tell you there's this really interesting way to read a listing. What is not mentioned is very important. And in the reviews that people give, if they don't say it was quiet, if they don't say it was really nice, maybe it's not. And then you got to read all the reviews, because, you know, 6, 7, 8 out of 10 people are just not going to provide any negative information. A lot of people will give a 5-star review because the owner was sweet and the property was nice. So you need to find that person who's going to give an honest review and say, yeah, it was a great property, however the location was lacking, the bed was lacking. You couldn't sleep at night because of the bar sounds, the karaoke from the bar. And we're talking Philippines Airbnb, so now you need to be extra careful. There's some issues you really need to know. Now, let's get back to these Airbnbs and how many stars they had, why we chose them. The first property was at NINO AQUINO International Airport, NAIA. I flew into Terminal 3, the international terminal. I walked across the skybridge, down the other side of the street, and about 100 meters of some not so great sidewalk, and there are many, many properties on Newport Boulevard. We paid about $50 a night, and when I met Chrissy the next morning, we were able to use that property for a few hours just to have our luggage stored there and to get reorganized before we moved on. If you go on hotels.com or any of these hotel sites, you'll see dozens of these condos for rent, like a hotel room basically, but it's really kind of an Airbnb.
Yes, and if you are planning to fly from another places in the Philippines and your starting point is in Manila, that will be the good place for you to stay so you won't be late in your flight.
We went to Makati. It's only a 250 peso, $5-6 US taxi ride to Makati, and we got a really nice 1-bedroom loft style condo with a fantastic thermopedic mattress, 297 reviews, 4.96 on Airbnb. It was right near the Greenbelt. We could just walk out of the unit. We were on a high floor. They had a great sound system. The reviews were out of this world.
So if you want to stay in a luxurious place and luxurious environment, that's the right place.
It was really nice. We rented 2 properties, Chrissy. One for your parents. It was a house in the suburbs, right?
Yep.
It was about $40, $50 a night. It had 4.8 stars and 206 reviews. It wasn't much of anything special, but for a Filipino family, they were pretty happy. We brought 16 people up in a van, and I think all in all, they kind of liked it, and that was one of the 2 properties in Cagayan de Oro. The second property was at the Primavera condos, right next to
SM Uptown.
SM Uptown. Okay, so here's where you find out I'm not that smart, Chrissy, because I violated my rule. I rented a condo, a one-bedroom condo, 4.58 stars with 26 reviews. It was only $30 a night in a modern, maybe 10-story condo building right across the street from SM Uptown.
There is just one thing that Rob didn't like it.
Yeah, it smelled like a pesticide factory. I don't know why I stayed there. We got sick after being there. It was a dump, but it is a fantastic location.
We went to Davao City.
Yeah, I got sick. I like a bacterial pneumonia. I'm sure it was from that condo and the air conditioning unit or the pesticide. We missed our flight and we had to drive. What's the name of the city in the mountaintop between?
Bukindnon.
Bukidnon, which is this gorgeous. You see cows for the first time. It's high up in the hills. We had to rent a private driver and I was like, oh my God, I was so sick. And we stayed in the Abriza condo complex right next to Ayala Mall on maybe the 24th floor, 20-something floor. Very nice, really good quality construction. But we did hear roosters in the morning. Even if you rent a gorgeous condo across the street from it, it was a much bigger, more modern mall, much more beautiful modern complex. So we paid about $70 a night. The condo had 4.87 rating, 158 reviews. The kitchen was now nicely furnished. I liked everything about that place.
It's very convenient to stay there because when you go down through the elevator, you can see the mall right
across the street. Pretty big city. Clean, pretty modern.
We went to MACTAN Newtown.
So MACTAN Newtown is a new IT park on Lapu-Lapu. It's a place that's very modern. We stayed at the Manchester, a one bedroom for about $75 a night. We were on maybe the 12th floor, you know, security guard, ultra modern building, restaurants right down the street, food courts, and then there's a beach that was available through the Savoy Hotel, about a 5-7 minute walk to the beach. MACTAN Newtown by itself is convenient, it's nice. I kind of like the idea of staying in a condo right above Ayala Mall in downtown Cebu City, but getting in and out of Cebu City, the traffic is just horrendous, really.
Talking about the unit itself that we rented in Cebu, it was really good, and when you look into the window, you can see the view.
Yeah, you know, and 5.0 and 45 reviews. We're gonna have the listing in the video if you're not seeing it right now, and you'll be able to figure out on Airbnb which unit it is. So Chrissy, a hotel snuck in our list. We just spent 2 nights.
That was in Puerto Princesa, the Wyndham Microtel.
We were on our way to El Nido, and it's expensive to fly to El Nido, especially if you're booking last minute. It can be prohibitively expensive. Most people fly to Puerto Princesa and take a 5 or 6 hour van ride to get to El Nido. So we decided we weren't in that big a hurry, and that was like $50 a night. It wasn't like the room was nothing special. It was like a budget motel room, but the people at the hotel were nice. The restaurant food was okay, and they had a nice pool and a gorgeous beachfront.
I'm gonna say the location is really good.
It was a good price. It was 15 minutes from the airport, and you know, the tour vans will pick you up there. It was just a place to recharge our batteries before this 6 hour van ride to El Nido.
Yes, and if I'm gonna compare that to all of the locations that we stayed, I'm gonna say it's like the classic type of
beach vacation.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. We took the van ride. It was about $16. I had this giant suitcase. I had to pay $16 for my giant suitcase as if it was a person. So we headed to El Nido and we rented an Airbnb. It was kind of interesting. It has a 5.0 with 9 reviews. One of those reviews is mine. And it was above the Submariner dive shop, right on the water. But the dive shop is mostly a coffee shop and restaurant, small cafe. Pretty good food. Coffee was pretty good. The view, you're right on the beach, and the room was okay. We paid $120 a night. We could have easily found rooms for $60, you know, off the water.
I think of all the Airbnbs that we stayed, it is the only one that doesn't have a kitchen.
Everything but the kitchen. The bed was pretty
really
good. Yeah, consider the bed important.
Yeah. So why bed is very important to you?
Well, you know, I'm with a young, drop-dead gorgeous Filipino. What do you think the reason is?
We went to Boracay and we spent 1 week there.
We rented a one bedroom, kind of a roomy one bedroom in Malay, which is on the bay, and we rented a property, 5.020 reviews. And we really liked this place. We got maid service like every other day. There was this husband and wife, housekeeper, caregiver couple. They were so nice. Good coffee, great kitchen, roomy. The TV was subpar, but we don't watch much TV anyway. And a partial view of the bay. And when we rented this place, Chrissy, I was like really worried. Oh, I'm cheaping out. I'm getting the place on the bay instead of on White Beach with a gorgeous view. It turned out it wasn't a problem, huh?
It wasn't a problem, and when you go out from the Airbnb, you can really tell that it's really Boracay because there's nothing different. The difference is just it is more quiet. There's nothing a lot that is going there for swimming or driving.
Right. I think it was worth staying on the bay in Boracay. The only thing is the bay is humid, so you got this gorgeous bay. It's very sparsely populated with tourists, and you can go out there and take a plunge, but it's just hot and humid and not very much. But it's gorgeous eye candy, the views and the pictures you can take, and there's a place to go for a walk and everything about it. But it was just sticky hot there. And it was only like 8-minute walk, and you could just jump in an electric tuk-tuk and go to White Beach. But it's 8-9 minute walk through all the shops, and you get to D Mall, which is ground zero, and then you pop out on White Beach, and now you're on the ocean, and there's a breeze, and it's like really nice beach, but it's a little crowded. So we would just get up in the morning, go hop in the bay, take some photos, go for a walk, come back, have breakfast. Then we would kind of organize ourselves, walk the 10 minutes, and we'd park, and we would stay there for 3-4 hours, swim in the ocean. Then we'd go have lunch at the D Mall or pick up some groceries to bring back. Big selection of produce. There's a great deli in D Mall where you get all your Western foods. That was a great Airbnb.
There's a bathtub there. That was the
first
first time.
That had a giant bathtub.
Yeah, that's the first time I experienced bathtub.
We stayed at the Marina 2, a peaceful hideaway, 4.82 star rating, 57 reviews. The owner was super nice. The condo complex had a pool. There were like 2 or 3 like 10-story buildings, but it was a very odd, it was very small, and the living room had no windows. The bedrooms had windows, but the beds had to be blocking. You couldn't look out any window because the bed had to be in front of the window. So you spent your time in the living room, you had no window. But it was pretty cheap. We paid like $60 a night. Dumaguete doesn't have taxis, but there are trikes everywhere, and they're dirt cheap. They're 20 pesos per person. We went 15 minutes to Robinson's grocery store and the mall for 40 pesos, which is like 80 cents. So it's really cheap to get around. It was kind of fun driving around on the trikes. I don't know if you're kind of sucking on the fumes of the exhaust. We rented a trike for 800 pesos for 3 hours, and he took us up into the hills of Valencia. You could see where it's kind of a breezier, and there were some really nice compounds and some nice properties there. But in terms of the Airbnb, we had a power outage one day. It was scheduled maintenance, and we went without power for like almost all day Sunday.
So we decided to go out and spend the time in Tom and Tom's.
Yeah, and, they have nice coffee culture there in Dumaguete, and we made good use of it. It's kind of a little congested, older style city that we saw, but it has the boardwalk, and we're going to show you some footage of Chrissy playing Titanic out at the boardwalk and twirling around. We really liked the idea of a boardwalk. And we ran into some Westerners and sparked up some conversations. We learned some things. It's not a bad place to stay if it's your first trip to Dumaguete and you just want to get somewhere, get your feet on the ground. It's a pretty safe spot. We didn't hear dogs, we didn't hear roosters. That was the big plus there.
Yes. Oh my God, we were like in a freezer.
It was like a meat locker.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't turn it down. We asked and asked and asked, and we're like, oh my God, it was crazy. It was only about 20 seats in the business class. They were like first class airline seats. It's a fast cat, so it's moving pretty quick. Oh, we were so miserable. It was like we got locked in a meat locker. And we arrived in TAGBILARON, and we paid the 800 pesos for a van to drive us to Panglao, where we rented an Airbnb, gorgeous Panglao villa. We shared a pool with one other villa, so it was like a compound, kind a little bit off the beaten path, not too far, because we could walk right into the heart of Panglao. So maybe it was a 7-8 minute walk into the heart of Panglao. But this was a drop-dead gorgeous property, and it normally goes for like $160 a night, maybe $175 a night. And we were like, we just needed 2 nights, and it was vacant. It was booked a lot of other nights, and it was coming up. I booked last minute. So I asked them, hey, you know, we just don't, it's just the 2 of us, because it was a 2-bedroom. And we asked them if they'd take $100 a night, and they came back and said they'd take $120. So we just grabbed it. And oh man, it was really modern and nice. And you know, you could hear little roosters in the morning, and one of the neighbors was burning firewood to make charcoal. And if there was a few times, you know, you could smell the burning, the smell of fire coming into the unit. The air quality was a little affected. But boy, I'd stay there again, but I wouldn't necessarily want to spend $170 a night. So,
and what I really like about it is the kitchen. I really like it, the utensils. And the water pressure is really good, both in the shower and in the sink.
I think they had a beautiful rain head. Anyway, it got 4.94 stars and 47 reviews. And that's really what you're looking for. You want something that's had a lot of reviews and has a really high score. And boy, this place didn't disappoint. Panglao was kind of interesting. There was like no grocery stores, tons of Korean restaurants, tons of Korean culture. But we found the beach to be a little humid. Maybe it was just the 1 day we were there at the beach, or the 2 days we were there. But
maybe it's just only the time of the day when we went there.
It could be. It was an interesting city. It was like a little. It was just I don't know how to describe that beach area. It was kind of congested, is what I would say. Yeah, but it was beautiful. But I just didn't feel like the weather. Maybe, and again, maybe just that day. So we headed back. We had rented a house in Cagayan de Oro, which we're in right now. We took the overnight ferry. It was about $27 each, and we got wasn't it private? There were 4 beds, like 2 bunk beds on each side. And so we were in the kind of pricier part of the ship. It left at 7 p.m. and it arrived, it was supposed to get into 6:30, but it got in at 5 a.m. Chrissy, we went to BGC, is the last tour. We landed at Terminal 2, so you couldn't just walk across the street from Terminal 3. And Terminal 2 and Terminal 3 is really far apart. I don't know what's going on. We rented an Airbnb, sight unseen. It had 0 reviews. It was right next to the Venice Mall. They have this mall where, you know, they got the gondolas. It looks like Venice, and it's very walkable. BGC is quite nice if you're not really in a tourist mode. It's really modern and nice. So anyway, Scandinavian vibes at McKinley, fast Wi-Fi. Now, one of my reviews, maybe 2 of my reviews, because I've been there twice, 5.07 reviews. It was really nice, and we lucked out. It had a really comfortable mattress. It was small though, very small, but it was a really nice building. We were up like on the 16th floor. It's kind of like our go-to place if we go back to Manila. I think we'd stay there again. It's in BGC. It's
the Florence Tower.
Taguig, McKinley Place, I think. I think we paid about $100 a night, roughly. There were markets across the street. There were restaurants across the street. You just walk right out of your high-rise, and everything's right there. And then if you just walk 3 or 4 minutes, you're in the mall. Taguig is kind of nice. What's the name of that big mall we took the photos at?
Mega World. Mega World.
So it was very easy to get to Mega World. We went to a camera shop there. I kind of like that part. You know, people trash Manila, and I used to say, like, I'd rather, you know, have my tooth drilled on than go to Manila. Who wants to be in the pollution and the traffic and deal with the poverty? And, you know, I had quite a different experience. BGC, it's like ultra modern, ultra clean, lots of conveniences nearby. We found that to be just a great place to pop into or stay when we come back through Manila. If you want to have a nice getaway, you want to have a romantic place and enjoy some luxuries.
We are aiming to visit Baguio, Iloilo. I think we're going to Camiguin Island.
You know, I got a lot of comments from people like, how did you not mention Iloilo when you talked about best boardwalks, best beaches? I hear you. And we're going to try and get there. So we want to go there. We want to go to Baguio. We want to go to Camiguin Island.
That is our experience. And for me, wherever I go, I'll be very happy and I'll be comfortable as long as Rob is with me.
Thanks, guys.